Ṣílẹ̀kùn ayọ̀ mi o, bàbá ṣílẹ̀kùn ayọ̀ mi. Ìbànújẹ́ ò jẹ́ kó jìnnà sílé mi. Wàá múnú mi dùn, bàbá onílé ayọ̀. Ọ̀rọ̀ ayọ̀ mi má jẹ́ kó pa mí lẹ́kún. Ṣílẹ̀kùn ayọ̀ mi o, bàbá ṣílẹ̀kùn ayọ̀ mi. Ìbànújẹ́ ò jẹ́ kó jìnnà sílé mi. Wàá múnú mi dùn, bàbá onílé ayọ̀. Ọ̀rọ̀ ayọ̀ mi má jẹ́ kó pa mí lẹ́kún. Good morning and welcome to Authentic Conversations with Moji. It's good to see you. Today is, I don't remember. My days have been so cluttered these days. It's crazy. Well, today is February 6th, 2023. I thank you for being here. Do me a huge favor and share the video for me and invite your friends to join the conversation. I've been very quiet for the past few months, right? Because I was doing a lot of research. There's a lot of things that are troubling me. There's a lot of things that I'm trying to get across and understand for myself. And you must understand, I'm a child that comes from a family of 12 stepmothers and 31 children, I found out later on in life. But I must tell you that my parenting journey has been very one kind, like my village people say, right? So hang in there with me while I share this little clip that my wife created for me. So yeah, share the video. I'll be right back. So welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It's so good to see you guys. I haven't done a live in a really long time. I've been trying to work on different projects, but I had to come and talk about this because I look around me, right? I look around me and I realize that the Gen Z and the millenniums, even though they're similar in some kind of ways, they're very different. So I went to do a lot of research to find out what is the problem? Why are we going through this times that we're going through, right? Why is single parenting so glamorized? For people like me, it was like the coolest thing to be a single parent. You know, we were going through this thing where they said, you know, women's movement, revolution, they were revolutionizing the world. And I lived in America and Oprah was screaming, you can have it all. And I believed her. You can have it all. Key thing is, when we're young, we make a lot of dumb choices. When we're young, we make a lot of mistakes. And I'm talking about single parenting today because I see how it's affected the children that were raised by a lot of single parents. I'm not saying single parenting is not a good thing for everybody. For me, it was something that I designed and I chose. It wasn't like I accidentally got pregnant. I actually consciously asked somebody to be the father of my children because I thought I could have it all. I was building a real estate business. I was building all kinds of businesses at the same time, and I'm trying to raise children, right? If you're here, please say hello so I know that you're here and I know who I'm talking to and I'm not just talking to space. And also share the video for me. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Moji Solar-Wilson, and this is Authentic Conversations where we talk about real issues. I'm a social commentator. I talk about real life issues from my lenses, right? From my lenses. Hello, Emmanuel. It's good to see you. Happy New Year. So I said to ask myself, what is the problem? Why is this generation kind of like wonky? Why is it that the world is changing? We've lost our moral compass. We've lost compassion. We've lost empathy. And yet we're screaming inclusion and diversity. So I went to do a lot of research. I went on YouTube. I read a lot of medical research that was done. I read a lot of books on parenting. Before I had my kids, I read books on parenting. Most of the things in those books is a lie because one hat does not fit everybody. So you have to customize the style of parenting for each child. So I'm not talking about people who became single parents because their partners died. I'm talking to people who became single parents because of a divorce, like me, or because they chose to have children, like me. Duh. Anyways, and so the point I'm trying to make is that a lot of the choices we made way back then is now coming to hurt and harm us. Many years ago, in the 80s and 90s, it was a women's movement. I mean, 70s, 60s, and 70s, it was a women's movement. Women can do it all. Women can have it all. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have kids, have family, have this and have that. So a lot of women, when they told us to burn our bras, we did. We burnt our bras, forgetting that as we get older, we're going to need a bra to help to keep everything up, right? So here's the deal. Before one even has children, you need to have a conversation with the person that you're going to procreate with to ask them, do you want children? How would you like your children raised? And it's not just, do you want children? Do you want children with me? Because we women say it's our body, it's our right, but we forget that we're co-parenting. Nobody is a single parent, because you cannot have a child by your own as a woman, and a man cannot have a child by their own. The only people that are technically really single parents are women that do IVF, that would have no contact with the other parent. So here's the deal. They told us in those days that everything is wonderful, you can have it all, you don't have to worry, nothing's going on, yada yada yada, and we believe them. We believe that you could go to work for 8 hours, come home, cook and clean, talk to the children, have emotional currency to spend with the kids. And then we went through a period in America, I think it was like in around the 90s, where teenagers, 12, 13, 14-year-olds were having children. If you go to TikTok, this is how much research I did. I went to TikTok. There's this new challenge where they tell you to show your mother, and you can't tell the difference between who's the mother, who's the grandmother, and who's the grandchild. They look like they're like literally 3 years apart from each other. And that's because people at a certain point in the world, girls were having babies because they felt they didn't connect to anybody. So they wanted children. So they had children as teenagers. You cannot be a child raising a child. You're going to run into a problem. So you find a lot of single mothers out there that were teenagers when they had their children. They were not adults themselves. So here they are raising young people. But that's not the biggest problem. The biggest, even people like me, that I was in my late 20s when I had my first child, I could not pay attention, full attention to the children. It was either the nanny or the babysitter or the TV that raised the kids. And, it breaks my heart, but that's my truth. And the truth of many of my friends. And then majority of us had children with fathers that didn't care, or sometimes didn't even want children, right? So then you go through all that and you have these kids, you're doing the best you can, but you're shortchanging yourself and you're shortchanging the children's emotional capacity. You're shortchanging yourself because you can't have a real life that you want. You're going to have to compromise. And people don't talk about that. They always talk about the joy of parenting. Women my age, are now trying to find themselves because they had to give up so much of themselves to raise the children. That's why I've never had a conversation with my daughter about, when are you having a child? Oh, girl is 30 years old. It's not my business. We know for a fact. I wish more women would speak the truth about raising children. I wish more women will speak the truth about being a single parent. And I'm not saying people should not be a single parent. I'm saying you should be prepared. Then you run into people that have divorces, right? You have single women that have these kids because they can do it on their own. No, you can't. You need a family member, you need a nanny, you need somebody else, because a child should have the ability to view the world through different lenses. It cannot just be through your lens as a single parent. Because what happens is that most of us, especially Black women, we're carrying so much of a heavy load on our backs. We are taking care of everybody, right? We're taking care of everybody, and everything is on us. We have to go to work. We're the nanny. We're the psychologist. We're the therapist. We're the sometimes the nurse. We're doing everything that we can't even breathe down. So we're so tired half the time. And a lot of these kids are now telling us, "Oh, you yell too much. Oh, you're always cranky. Oh," and they're ghosting their parents. If you don't know what ghosting means, Google it. Psychotherapists are telling our children to walk away from us because we're toxic. How can you not be toxic when you're doing the job of 10 people? I mean, we have to start to think about these things. You know, we come home, we're tired from work. You come home, the house is not clean because they have been watching TV or playing computer games all day. Instead of telling them to fix it, instead of telling them to clean it because you don't want to shout, you just go there and you do what you have to do, right? You clean it yourself. But we're not giving them the training. We're not giving them the tools. We're not teaching them to be empathetic. We're teaching our children because we're too tired, and it's justifiably tired. We're too tired to even argue sometimes, right? We're not teaching them accountability. We're not teaching them responsibility. We're not teaching them compassion. We're not teaching them empathy because we don't demand that from them. We make ourselves the bottom of the totem pole. We make ourselves the one that everybody dumps everything on. And a lot of you are out there like me, where your ex-husband, who you should have left the children with, you choose not to leave the children with your ex-husband, or at least share custody. In my case, I shared custody with my ex-husband. Knowing what I know now, I would have dumped the kids with him and walked and spent every other weekend with them so that I can build me, so I can build my life. Because what happens is that because a lot of parents are in my inbox telling me how they're being prosecuted by their children, how society is telling them they're not doing enough. It's not you. It's because of the system that makes men less accountable. But in my opinion, part of the reason why men are less accountable is because we don't have those conversations. If anything happens, how are we going to take the care of the children? In my case, because my mother left at one, I wasn't leaving my children behind. I actually traded a lot of houses for full custody of my kids, right? You would think that my children are appreciating that. No, 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 they don't like that. The fact that their father did not show up, the fact that their father did not pay child support, the fact that their father owes me $115,000 in child support doesn't count because I'm still always the bad person. And I'll tell you why you, as a single mother, will always be looked at as a bad person by a lot of the children we brought into the world, is that you are the one that's telling them to go to bed at night. You're the one that's telling them to do their homework. You're the one that's making them eat vegetables. You're the one that's making them clean their room. So, of course, you're the bad person. The other parent that just shows up maybe once every 6 months, maybe once every year, guess what? They're the fun person. Because they have no boundaries, there's no perimeter. They're not demanding anything of these kids but to have fun. We spend our whole life, the best years of my life, I dedicated to raising my children, right? Because of my children, I had to reprogram my mind. Because of my children, I went through therapy. I became the best version of myself. But what they're used to is the Moji that was the doormat with low self-esteem, whose mother left her one. We all have a story. We all know why we had children. A lot of us had children because that's what society expected of us. And some of us had children because we just thought it was the right thing to do. When, in my opinion, again, because of my walk and what I've seen around me, right? If I had to do this world again, first of all, I'm not going to have 4 children. That's a fact because I don't have the bandwidth. And because I am a businesswoman, I value me as well. Not just them, because people tell you when you have children, they have to be your whole life. How can my children be my whole life? What happens when they leave? As a single parent, you're expected to be everything for people. I'm not saying you shouldn't be. I am asking you, right? I am asking you. Thank you, Melody, for that comment. I am asking you as women, as human beings, to understand you cannot have it all. You cannot do it all. And we're raising children that are broken. We're raising children that we nag. Melody says, my mom was always nagging. It took me years to understand why. Melody, at least you understand. Most of our children don't understand. You know, I had to run an office with 22 agents, with an ex-husband who's not paying child support, with society, economy dying, with black boys being killed. I'm worried all the time about where the boys are. They going to be okay? I'm worried about the girls' safety because they're black in a white neighborhood. I'm worried about a lot of things. Everything is on one person. So we're stressed. We're so stressed and burdened because we have to keep a roof over their heads. But here's the problem. We can't continue this way. When you become divorced from your partner, if your partner has the ability to take care of the children more than you, there's nothing wrong with you leaving the children, especially if they're not the ones bringing in the money. Leave your children with the person as long as they're not abusive and they're going to harm the children. Leave the children with the father, and you go and build something that's sustainable. I ended up homeless. I repeat, not because I was not earning, but because I was so busy running around, I forgot to put my name on the house. And my ex sold it to his somebody. And then the agreement that he should pay more. He shouldn't pay child support and whatever. And just pay the mortgage, which was a lot less than the child support, right? Like almost 1/3 of the child support. And he never did that. But I was so consumed with, I have to pay the bill. I have to run the kids here. I have to run the kids to football, run the kids to here, do this, do that. And people don't understand the pressures on a single parent. Allow your partner, your husband, your ex-husband to take the children. Even if it's for 3 years, let them take it. Being a single parent is not a badge of honor. It's great if you don't have a choice. But if you do have a choice, again, I'm not talking to people whose husbands are deceased. I'm talking to people that are consciously single parents. Nobody is a single parent. You suffer, the children suffer. When I'm now talking to people that have ex-husbands. I am begging you, find a way to make this relationship, parent in relationship work. Make sure your children spend time with the other parent so that you can breathe, so that you have time for yourself, so that when you have time for yourself, you're not always cranky. When you're always cranky, your children suffer. Your children don't feel safe with you. They don't feel comfortable with you. They won't tell you much, and they will leave. The therapists are telling children to walk away from their parents. So you've done all this work for many years. Many years, you've given everything up. You've suffered. You've compromised. You've worn Salvation Army clothing so that your children don't have to wear Salvation Army clothing, which is another mistake. I'll touch on that. You must find a support team, and your support team should be the biological parent. Unless the biological team, the biological parent, the other biological parent is abusive. Let me tell you one more thing that I want you to know. Please, you must understand that you have one life to live. And being a parent seems to be a life sentence that you are not in control of. Because those children that you have worked for all your life, or you guys that are keeping your children away from their other parents, what always happens is that the child will go and find them. I went looking for my mother. I was 37 years old. The woman left me at 1. My daughter went to look for her father. She was 25. He chose not to be a part of her life. And I tried everything, and that didn't work. You have to understand, you cannot feel bad because your child has decided to go find the other parent. It feels like betrayal. But that's because in our head, we feel like we own them, like a Louis Vuitton bag or a Coach bag, or even Ghana Must Go. We don't own these people. I don't even call my children anymore. I call them the people I brought into the world, because, see, society they've really done a number on women, where you'll be looking at a 50-year-old human being and still see them as a baby. We still see them as the child that we brought back home from the hospital because society continues to call them children. About 5 years ago, I stopped calling my birth people children because for as long as I called them children, I felt responsible for them. I felt that I would never let them fail. I felt I had to throw myself in front of a car that's about to hit them because of their choices. So guess what? That's how we got into this world where a lot of younger people lack compassion, they lack respect, they lack empathy, and they blame us. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm trying to shine the light on this huge problem that we have in 2023. There's a huge rebellion going on. People are being told not to even get an education because they don't need it. Education is a passport to our freedom. Then you have the gender issues. Confusing. There's a lot I don't understand, but I believe every adult should have a right to be who they claim or choose to be. As a single parent, you're not a single parent. There's a father or a mother out there somewhere. And it's important that the children that you bring into the world, even if you don't have a partner, are exposed to other adults that have the same values as you're trying to implement in your children. Don't let anybody fool you. Don't let your mother. I had a girl in my inbox yesterday talking about my mother says, oh, I don't have to get married, just have a child. Honey, I did that bit already. I was a lesbian woman and I thought I had really bad low self-esteem. And I thought if I just gave them children, I would be okay. So I designed my children. I designed my own family because I didn't have one. You can't be everything to everybody, especially yourself. And when you cannot be yourself, when you don't know who you are, it's kind of hard to bring somebody else into the world. I'm a big believer in don't have children too early. Find yourself first so you don't have to drag your children through the journey to self. I repeat, if you can self-actualize first before you bring other people into this world, please do it. Because it's unfair to drag this young people through the journey to self-actualization. See, one of the things I stopped doing is blaming myself for everything that happened to my kids. I take responsibility for some things, but the rest of the responsibility is on them. It's up to them to choose who they want to be. It's up to them to use my mistakes and my life journey as a benchmark for where they want to go or where they don't want to go, who they want to be or who they do not want to be. As a single parent, one of the things that I learned in my journey, and all my kids are grown and gone. Actually, two of them are not even talking to me. They're going through that, block them, delete them. Anybody will bother you, just block them. You know that TikTok song? It's horrible. They lack communication. Because the way I communicated was by yelling. I put a joke on my Facebook page the other day. I said, Nigerian parents, we yell because we grew up with generators. And it sounds like a crazy joke, but it's kind of partly true. The problem is that for those of us that did not witness a loving, kind, gentle kind of parenting style, we were just winging it. I mean, I had 7 or 8 stepmothers by the time I was 15. My mother wasn't there. No excuse. So I read a lot of books, and I thought the books, in theory, were going to be everything, right? When the child cries, just pat them on the back, check their diaper, put a bottle in their mouth. If it's not the diaper, if it's honey, I ended up with a child that had colic. I came home from the hospital, drove myself from the hospital, came home, and the child cried for like 5 hours straight. I almost lost my mind. I ended up calling my American stepmother, who came over. And that's how we found out that she had colic. There's no such thing as a single parent. You need a village that will help you raise your child so you don't lose your mind. I speak to women my age. I am 58, and they have spent the most valuable time of their life raising these people who do not appreciate them, because the best version of them is now. The best version of me is now. I know who I am. I know what makes me tick. I know that I'm a lesbian. I know I'm not straight. And I finally had the courage to come out of the closet many years ago, right? But here's the problem. I already laid a bed. I already made some choices that were wrong. If I had stood still, there's no way I would have had children with my son's fathers. No way. Because our values were not the same. So here I am in my 40s, going through an evolution, a rebirth of some sort. It's a very painful journey. So your children have to go through it with you. Every time you go through a separation or a divorce, your children are going through it with you. And a lot of us that are Africans, we've been taught not to speak the truth. We've been taught to keep things away from children. Everything. No, honey, let me tell you something. All the time that I was struggling to pay the bills, to put food on the table, I should have told my kids. The reason I say that is that I remember one of my daughters coming to me and asking me to borrow a bag. I forget the bag, a Louis Vuitton bag or something. And I had sold the bag so that I could pay rent. It was around the time that I sold my cars as well. Because the real estate market had crashed. Things were crazy. I'm going through an emotional meltdown. There was so much going on. I'm going through a divorce at the same time. I'm dealing with a co-parent, biological co-parent that's mental. Very narcissistic, very abusive. Guess what? Those kids had to go through that too. They had to watch it. I have scars on my head where the guy beat me up. They had to be there. So when you're talking about, I'm not saying people should stay in bad relationships. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying negotiate, and compromise. Stop believing that because you're a woman, you should keep the kids. No, sometimes the father might not be as busy as you. Sometimes the father, get your feelings out of the way, get your ego out of the way, and allow the other parent to help you co-parent. Just because a person is not a good husband or wife does not mean that they will not be a good parent. We have to stop this thing where people use children as ammunition. My ex-husband, my son was 12 years old. He stopped talking to me. So I will drop the child support case. And he will speak through my son. So now if the arrangement is every 2 weeks he's supposed to pick the kids up, he will tell the boy he's coming to pick him up. And the boy will come to me and say, oh, daddy said he's coming on Sunday instead of Friday. Kids are manipulative. I'm not saying he's a bad kid. I'm saying he did what he thought he had to do. But if you have an open conversation, open pathway to conversation with your co-biological parent, the games that children play would not apply. Because part of the biggest problem that I see in a lot of single parenting issues is that both biological parents don't speak. People forget that the most important person in this whole thing is the children. But if you're not well, if your mental state is not intact, you cannot be a good parent. There's no way. It was like 2 years. My father died. The real estate market crashed. I was going through a divorce, and I'm going, name it. Everything was just crazy. Everything was crazy. And instead of me to say, hey, take the children, I didn't. By the time I offered him the children, he's like, oh, well, my wife said, his now wife, girlfriend said they can't come. We're both parents. We are both parents. Nyla says, I'm going to come to you. Why don't you click on the link, please? Naisha, click on the link and come into the studio with me so we can have this banter, this conversation, right? Please come in. So I'm going to address what you're saying in a minute. Please understand that if you are not mentally safe, if you are not mentally stable, you cannot give your children the best version of yourself. And Naisha is saying, cheating husbands can be great fathers. If you're failing as a wife or husband, you can't be a great parent. I disagree. I totally disagree, because your relationship with your children is a maternal relationship. Your relationship with your wife or husband is a what? Romantic relationship. They're two different things. And a breakdown in a relationship is a cheating is usually a symptom of a breakdown in a relationship. It has nothing to do with your parenting skills. So you can be a good parent and still cheat. My father was a good parent. He had 7 wives. It had nothing to do with me. My father, my mother's relationship, nothing to do with me. I am not their relationship coach. My father's fiduciary to me is as a parent, not as a romantic relationship. So yes, sometimes a father that's cheating or whatever can, or mother, can be a good parent. That's my opinion. If you have a different experience, come into the studio. Let's have the conversation. It's authentic conversations. Let's talk about this, because something's got to give. We're raising children that lack emotional intelligence, that lack empathy, that lack truth, they lack respect for themselves. They don't even know who they are. That's why you have a lot of pronouns. We have 300 pronouns right now. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me, because what from my experience, from my walk, from my research, I'm finding that a lot of these kids are in trouble. Why are they in trouble? That's a question I kept asking myself. Why are these children do or die? 50% of Black homes are headed by African American women. 50%. How did we get to the point where, and I'm not, I'm a lesbian. I'm a lesbian. I'm not saying everybody should have a husband. I'm not saying everybody should be married. I am saying it takes more than one person to raise a child. So this single parent title that we used to be proud of it. People, me and my friends, oh, I'm a single parent. No, honey, let me tell you, the healthiest children are raised by 2 people. It doesn't have to be a father and a mother. It just needs to be 2 people, 2 healthy people. You cannot be that healthy when you're carrying the whole burden. Kole work. Motola Bukola, click on the link and come into the studio with me if you have time. The only reason why parents should keep kids away from the other parents is if they will be exposed to abuse. With shuku to you, darling. Shuku to you. Absolutely. You keep your children away from a parent that's abusive, that's abusing them, or abusive to other people around them. If you've been in a bad relationship, we've all been in a bad relationship, right? Remove yourself from it. If you're mentally, financially, emotionally, psychologically, physically being abused, leave. Leave. But one thing I am asking you to do is not bring the children into that ship. Because what I find that happens, right? What I find that happens, Melody, is that a lot of children feel bad because that's still their parent. That's their father. I remember I used to say in front of my kids, I'm like, your father owes me $115,000. I choose not to take him to jail. It's not their business. That was a choice I made. There's no reason for me to say those things in front of these kids, but I should have let them know things are hard. Your father is not paying child support, and this is all I can afford. Instead of killing myself, a lot of you work 3, 4, 5 jobs, killing yourselves to buy them expensive sneakers that they don't need. Your child should not be wearing $300 sneakers, especially when you cannot afford it. Especially when you cannot, even if you can afford it, they still should not be wearing it, in my opinion, because At the end of the day, when they leave your house, they're going to have to be able to sustain themselves. So if they have minimum wage is $10 an hour and you're now buying them $300 pair of sneakers, how many hours are they going to work to make that money? It's not possible. We have to remember that as parents, when we choose parenting or parenthood, it's a choice that we made. It might be an accidental choice in some cases. It might be an, conscious choice in some cases. But I'm here to tell you, single parenting, for some, it's amazing. But for 80% of the people in the world, it's damaging. And when I say single parenting, I'm not asking anybody to go and stay with their partner. I'm not asking you to stay with an abusive partner. Hi, Nini. Welcome to Authentic Trans Conversations. I'm not asking anybody to stay with an abusive partner. I'm asking you to make sure that both parents are participating in raising these kids. So, one, so the child can see their parents clearly, number one. Two, so you can have time to breathe down and not be stressed all the time and not be like me I worked 3 businesses. I would come home yelling and screaming. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. Oh my God, oh my, like the world was going to burn down. Then it got to a point where I started to choose my own battles. And even then was a problem. Hi, Nini, welcome. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
A little closer to the microphone, sis. I'm going to mute my mic. How are you?
I'm fine. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you guys hear her? All right, go ahead.
Yes. I love your show. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say that my experiences is most of the time children choose relationships that they saw their parents had. So to say that the cheating husband can be a good parent, I don't know about that because if he is cheating, he is communicating to his daughter that cheating is alright because he doesn't have enough standards. So I do understand where you're coming from and you're right. We should not bash the other partner in the our children. But I also do believe the way parents treat each other in front of each other, in front of children, is very, very important. If if the wife is constantly having different boyfriends at home and then can say I'm a good mother, I don't know about that. So this is just my experiences. And but the funny thing is, I got in an African house, in a Zimbabwean African household. In Zimbabwean, women very, very much protect the husband, even when the children are seeing the foolishness. You would see African, okay, African woman smile in your face and tell you he is the head of the home. So I have a different, experiences on that. And what really hurts me is when you say you have a different wives. I don't think this just like to code, like you have 4 stepmothers before the age of. I don't want to tell you how you should be feeling about that, but I don't know if it is okay. I hope I make myself clear.
I hear you. And I also think I thank you first of all for coming up and sharing your experience. Um, there's a lot of myth, right, about step parents and co-parents, right? For me, the reason why it was a different experience is because I'm Nigerian. Number one, women are considered cattle. They're worse than cattle, right? Number
Oh my
two,
God.
and women really did not have a choice when I was growing up. So a lot of them were already miserable. They were not happy, right? And guess
I'm
who
sorry.
ends up being the person they take it out on? It's me because I'm the one that's there. One thing I know for sure from my walk I'm now remarried almost 7 years, and my wife is an amazing mentor to a lot of the young people around us. And that's one of the reasons why I know that it takes more than one person to raise a child, because the way I see things is so different from hers, right? And the way she reacts to things is so different from the way I do. So there's that balance. There's the yin and the yang. So, sort of good cop, bad cop. And I'm not saying single people should go and look for partners. No. It could be a friend, it could be I don't know what. But the role of the other parent is very important. Good, bad, or indifference. One of the most beautiful things that I've ever done in my life that I'm so proud of, when my daughter came to me and said she's going to find her father, who I literally never seen, maybe she's seen him twice or three times, and then he moved back to Africa. I was very upset because I'd given so much of my life. I'd put them in private schools. I have done this and done that. You know how we always take in, we're tallying up everything we've done, right, in the past. I used to do that. And one of the things that I realized is that, after talking to a therapist and then talking to my wife is like, let her go. She needs to go and meet this person and get to know this person, right? So she did. I'm like, I give you my blessings, go ahead. And she came back and said, I'm never going back there. But if I had kept her away from this man, I would have been the enemy. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes we have to allow our children to experience the other person as a parent, because whatever biological bond they have, they need to discover themselves. But it's not just that. It's about seeing life through different lenses. Because if I am tired and come home and I'm screaming and shouting, homework is not done, why didn't you do the dishes? What happens is that they don't have a place to go where they can really talk. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes,
They don't have a safe space. So that's how they start hanging out with, gangs and drug dealers and this and that. A lot of the girls, because their fathers are not in their lives, they end up sleeping with older men. Any guy that would look at them, you know what I mean?
yes,
Because they don't have
absolutely.
their father figure in their lives. And the young boys, they join gangs because they have somebody that they believe loves them and will take care of them. So, what suggestions would you give, Nini, to single mothers that are out there that are doing the best that they can, but just need to tweak it a little bit? I'm going to mute my mic.
Mm. The honest truth is, I don't come from a single mother home. I come from a two-parent household, but the violence was equal. So it was actually, I wish my mom would have gotten divorced much earlier, but because of African culture, we kept the marriage, because marriage was valued in our culture. I wish she should have been the divorce much earlier. I don't know what to say, but saying what I think. I don't tell nobody what
I totally hear you. Um, I just feel like we need to start having more of these conversations, right? To change the narrative. I'm finding that a lot of us, especially Black people across the globe, we've been sold this rhetoric, and everybody blames colonialism, which I know is the root of a lot of our problems. But at some point, we ourselves have to start taking accountability for
to
the
say. Of course,
choices that we're making. A lot of our sons are not raised, they're not trained to be good human beings. They're
of course,
trained to be the kings and the princes with our castles. While we train our daughters to be good, caretakers, caregivers, wonderful human beings. We teach our girls, we actually sometimes covertly we try to suppress our girls. Cross your legs, wear your hair this way, sit that way, be nice, smile pretty so people can like you. But yet we tell the boys to go out and sow their oats, right? With who? And then we lock up our daughters. It's somebody else's daughters, right? We gotta start having these conversations. And I hear you that the way you were raised was different. A lot of us ended up divorced. A lot of us ended up single parents, not by choice. But there's a lot of people. I've done this both ways. I did it by choice, and then I did it because I became a single parent because I was divorced. But from both sides, that's why I can talk from both experiences. One I did because I just wanted a family of my own. The guy made me sign a piece of paper saying I would never ask for child support, and I never did. But child support is more than money. It's the emotional, it's the time, it's the discipline, right? It's giving space to me as a human being to just breathe down as well. And when we've been taught that we are our children are our life, when the kids go, most mothers break down. I almost had a mental meltdown. For over 30 years, I was running a business. I was running, 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 taking care of the kids, making sure they're okay. And then one day, boom, I became an empty nester. For 2 years, I was depressed because all of a sudden I had to redefine who am I. The reason I got up every day was to go and feed these kids. Now they're gone. Then what? Right? Then what? Let me read. There's a comment here from Melody. She says, my mom regrets till these days. She says her life isn't fulfilled because she has been about caring for children and the family alone. My mom fought to take custody, which she did. Dad folded his hands from that day and did nothing for us. That is my case too. Exactly what happened to me. But doesn't mean I don't love my dad. I really do. Now I have to make my mommy have a little bit of fulfillment because she cries every now and then saying, I wasted my life. She's 57. She's clingy and feels lonely when I'm not with her. I totally get you. And that's why for the past 6 years on this same stage, I've been talking to mothers and women about creating their own life. Don't make it's a horrible feeling to make your child feel guilty because they came into the world. And I totally understand it because I was there. But today I'm doing a lot. I mean, you got to create your own life. You have to create your own life. That's why it's important to make sure that you have the other biological co-parent help you with your children so that you can have time to do the things that you want to do. I always wanted to travel. So now my wife and I travel a lot. I always wanted to design handbags. Of course, you don't always make money doing the things that you're passionate about. So I had to do real estate. Now in my old age, I'm designing handbags. Not for money. If I sell it, I sell it. If I don't sell it, but I feel fulfilled. A lot of women don't have that opportunity because they fall into the funk after the children leave. A lot of my friends say the same thing. We forget that our children, our main job is to help to train them to function outside in the outside world, to create their own lives. But what you find is a lot of women living vicariously through their children. That's why they're pushing young women to go and have children so they can have a second go. By the way, did anybody feel like they did a great job with their kids? If you did, please say yes. If you did, please say no. In my case, I will tell you, Nini, and everybody else that's on this stage right now, I feel I failed. I am a better mother today because my children were the experiment. I hate to say that, but that's the truth. They don't come with book, what do you manuals. We're just winging it. They don't come with manuals. We're just winging it. So, Nini, what do you think? How can you help single mothers? What can you tell single mothers about negotiating and compromising with the other biological parent if the other biological parent is not harming the children? I'm going to mute my mic.
You're asking a lot from me. I don't have any children. I've not even married. So I cannot answer that question. One thing that I can say is I have a mom, and I think she feels the same way that you feel. But I don't think she feels. I used to be very angry of her, bitterness, but I think that sometimes as children, when I look at my mom, I always ask myself, Would you have done a better job when you got married at 20 years in Zimbabwe? No. With nothing? No. I've done the same mistake that she did, as she's a human being. Sometimes I think, okay, I did not saw my mother as a human. I saw her as a mother. So for me, sometimes I have to learn to see my mom as another woman and another human. And when I do that, I mostly have more empathy and understanding for other women and also humans. Because none of us have figured out life. None of us have. None of us know what to do. And she did the best she could with what she had. So I have no blame on her. Even my father, he never said I love you one day. He was very silent, but I think he does love me in his own way that he has learned to love me. I don't understand his way of love, but I learned to accept that sometimes people express love the way they have learned it, and then that I take
Wow. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that story, because what I got from your submission just now is that a lot of times we don't see our parents as people, as human beings. We see them as caretakers, right? And
it.
that's one of
Exactly.
the reasons why people say that when a child grows up, right? That when a child grows up, they are able to now open up their minds and see their parents as a human being, because then you understand the sacrifices that they made. Then you understand that they made the best choices with the tools that they had at that point in time. For a lot of African parents, women, I keep saying women, for a lot of us African mothers, a lot of us did not even know who we are, because we're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to go search for ourselves. If you can't have a child, you're not even considered a woman. You know that. And I'm married to a woman that's like consciously child free, but she's an amazing parent. It's the craziest thing. We have to understand that as mothers, when we're not well, nothing else is going to happen. So there's three things I want to leave you guys with. Thank you, Nini, for coming in today. If anybody else wants to come in, I put the link on top there. Just click on it for me and come right in, and we can continue the conversations. But three things I want people to leave this show with today. Just three, not a lot. Start to think of ways to incorporate your child's biological parents if you can, right? And if you can't, then try to find a cooperative, which might be other single mothers, that you guys come together and say, hey, on Friday, on this weekend, can you keep the kids? And then you have time for yourself to either sleep, eat, whatever you want to do, go shopping, do your nails, something. Just take care of you, right? Second thing is, start involving your children in decision making. Start preparing them for adulthood. Start making sure, because what I find is that a lot of young people that are raised by single mothers are spoiled rotten. They lack emotional intelligence. They're not compassionate at all, because we have made them our whole life, right? So instead of them being accountable for their choices, they walk away, they ghost us, believing that that's the worst thing that can happen, not realizing it. For me, it was freedom. Sorry, I got to throw that in. Third thing is, if you're not a parent yet, I ask you to please ask about the parenting stuff. Ask your partner that you're planning on having a child with. And I'm not saying children, it has to be a man or a woman. I don't care if I'm a lesbian woman. So whatever the relationship you're in, before you procreate, please have conversation with the person that you're going to have children with, and try and negotiate before you get in trouble. If we don't get along, how are we raising these children? Is it going to be 50-50 parenting? Is it going to be negotiate, work it out while things are good? When you're going through a divorce or a separation, is not the time to be having conversations about how you're going to raise your children. Before you have the children is when you should. And yes, there are some accidental pregnancies. For the accidental pregnancy, please note, if you are not able to have contact with the other person, find a village, find people that can help you co-parent. All it takes is one other person, a church member, a friend, another single mother. And let's start raising better quality of people. Because we're having a big problem in the world today because of a lot of things that happened in the past. If we don't look at the past, if we don't look at the past mistakes that we made, we can't go forward and create a better way of being, a better life, a better people that will be compassionate, empathetic, respectful, and just loving. Most of these kids don't love themselves because us mothers didn't love ourselves when we're raising them. And I'm not blaming single parents. I'm saying we need to start to think of a different way to do this. Nini, do you have any last word for us before I shut down the show?
Yes, thank you so much. And I wanted to thank you. I was afraid to come on because I'm a little bit afraid of elder African women.
I hear you. You know,
I'm not bashing you.
I totally hear you. But it's a different experience as an African than it is for an American. It's a different experience for a black person from a white person, right? But the
Mm,
commonalities is the mindset of the children that we're all raising today. And that's because of the way we were programmed as women altogether. Sometimes in fighting misogyny, go to the extreme end, which damages society more, right?
yes.
So we need to find
And
them.
you,
Sorry?
and you remind me so much from my mother. Yes, you could be my mother, exactly. You remind me of so many aspects of my mother. A lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so
I-
much. Goodbye.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm very grateful. And thank you for being here. I hope to see you next week, Wednesday at 10 a.m. It's been a great conversation, and I hope we continue these conversations. If there's anything you want me to talk about, or anybody would like to talk to me about, please send me a DM, put it as a comment. I'll do a lot of research, and we'll come back. And I love it when people come in because then I'm not just talking to myself. It's not a conversation if people are not talking to me. So thank you for
And
joining me today,
I
Nini.
would
It's
love to
been
talk about sisterhood. Maybe how we can, as women, sometimes see we bash on each other. And I'm not saying I am the victim. I also have been really rude to other women. You
yes,
know,
yes,
there was a
yes.
woman one time. I don't take the time when I was very young. She said to me, I was, she said to me, her uncle touched her.
Hmm,
In doing that, I tell her, I tell her you are so dirty. And I
hmm,
don't know why, as a child, I was so rude. But I wanted to say stuff. But I don't know why I was so rude and
hmm.
I enjoyed putting her in pain as a child. And I left the crying. So I really would love to talk about how to create sisterhood, maybe why we as women we abuse each other, or why do we hate each other, or why do we have this hierarchy of women, I would really love to, and how we can be better women to each other, you know.
Yes. We should definitely reach out to me through the back channel, through the
Oh,
DM, and we'll have conversation over the phone and we'll put the show together.
oh,
All right.
okay.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Please share the video. It's time that we have to start to have authentic conversations with each other. And if we are able to be truthful, hopefully we can change the trajectory or the narrative of our children, black, white, green, whatever it is. But being a single parent is not a horrible thing. But the key thing is that nobody is really a single parent. I think it would be more beneficial for the children if we are able to create a pathway to make the other parent, the other biological parent, to make sure that they participate either financially, time, or emotionally with the children, so that we single parents can have time to breathe, so that we single parents, single mothers, because there's single fathers out there as well. So just flip whatever I've said so far, flip it around and make the hat fit. When we don't have time for ourselves, we become consumed with the lives of our children because we've never created a life for ourselves. And that can be suffocating for our children, right? Two, when we take everything we have and invest it in somebody else and not some into ourselves, there's no dividend. It's not you're not going to be able to have any dividend. That's why you find mothers harassing their children to have children, because they've gone through this turbulent child raising experience and they've learned a lot of life lessons. So now they want a do-over. So they'll go and ask their children to go and have a child. You don't have to be married, just have the kid. And there goes the problem all over again. A lot of young people were having children, 13, 14, 15-year olds were having children in the night, in the what? Yeah, in the 2000s. And that's why you go to TikTok, if you watch a lot of the videos, you'll see all these mothers that look like they're children's sisters. But the problem with that is that you can't have a child raising a child. There's going to be problems. You find a lot of the boys joining gangs because their fathers are not around. You find a lot, and they have no father figure. And a lot of you women, you use your children as bait or bats to beat their fathers up. You're punishing yourself because your children are going to hate you. Your children are going to hate you later on in life. They think that you deprive them of their father, right? And you, who has to be the disciplinarian, who has to be the provider, who's tired 24/7 and yells at them, will now become public enemy number one. That father that has not sown, that has not done anything, because sometimes you didn't allow it, sometimes he didn't want to, and you didn't push his hand. Or maybe you're like me, that I was working from a place of ego. If you don't want to give me money, I don't want it. The guy owes me $115,000. I spent God knows how many hundreds of thousands raising my children, right? Because we all know children are expensive. They're now 18 and they're living with him. So I've done all the work for him to go and enjoy. There's nothing for him to do. So they're living with him because he has no house rules. But I'm the bad person. I yell, I scream. Yes, I do. Because sometimes, man, I don't think you can hear me. Because if I have to repeat the same thing 10 times, maybe you can hear me. Plus, I'm Nigerian. Like I said on my page, we were raised with generators. So sometimes we just yell. I don't know why we yell. We just do. I was doing it. I just caught myself because I'm in therapy. And my therapy says, check your voice. People think you're upset. I'm Nigerian. That's what we do. Until our children get to know us, when they're a lot older, we have to start to prepare them for the day they leave the house. We have to prepare them to become somebody else's partner, husband, wife, gay, straight, I don't care. I'm a lesbian. We're all parents. We're all people. We have to teach them that empathy starts from how they treat me. Compassion starts from how they treat you, their mother. Right? Integrity. Do your homework on time. Do this. Starts from them seeing me do it as well. And you doing it. Children learn more from what they see, not what they say, what you say. It's sad that by the time we all know how to raise children, they're gone. So it's important that the ones that have done it before us start to have conversations like this. So please share the video for me. Put it on your timeline. Have your friends listen. Let's continue the conversation in the chat. My name is Moji Solar-Wilson. I did a lot of research before I came out here today because I wanted to make sure that I was not I'm not coming to the wrong conclusions. We can no longer continue to just blame colonialism. We can't. At some point, we have to start to take accountability for our choices, accountability for our walk. It's a painful thing to do. but it's the only way to get to the promised land. My name is Moji Solar-Wilson. I thank you so much for being here. I'll see you next Wednesday, hopefully at 10 a.m. Keep the conversation going in the thread. Ask questions, talk to each other, debate, banter, but definitely share the video for me. Namaste.